You know, every country has that one phrase, that rallying cry. For Malaysia, it's Malaysia Boleh, which means Malaysia Can. It's all about aspiration, about believing you can achieve anything. But what happens when that drive to win, to prove you can, pushes you down a path of, well, cheating? Let's get into this story, a story about a football scandal that pits a nation's pride right up against its own integrity.
This quote from a fan, and it just says it all, doesn't it? It perfectly captures that sense of heartbreak, that betrayal at the very core of this whole mess. It's that feeling when your heroes, well, they turn out to be illusions built on a foundation of lies.
So let's start at the beginning. And the beginning isn't the shame. It's this moment of just pure national joy, a victory that was so sweet it felt like a new era for Malaysian football was dawning. But that dawn, it was about to get very dark, very fast.
Okay, picture this. 60,000 fans are going absolutely wild in Kuala Lumpur. The national team just demolished their rivals, Vietnam, 4-0, and this was their first win against them in over a decade. This wasn't just a game, no way. This was a massive statement. This was national pride on full display.
And then, boom, just a few short months later, the entire dream just collapses. FIFA, the world's governing body for football, drops an absolute bombshell. Their investigation is done, and that incredible win is now the source of a devastating national humiliation.
So you're probably asking, what on earth happened here? How did it all go so wrong? Well, this gets us to the heart of the scandal, a deception that people are calling the grandfather lie.
I mean, FIFA's report, it was 19 pages long, and they did not hold back. They did not mince words at all. They found that the documents used to prove these players had Malaysian heritage were straight up forged, that the grandparents' birthplaces were doctored. FIFA just called it what it was, a clear and simple case of cheating.
And this is where it gets really clear. The Football Association of Malaysia, or FAM, they claim these players had grandparents born in Malaysia. But when FIFA dug up the real, original birth certificates, nope. The grandparents were from Argentina, Brazil, Spain, the Netherlands. There was no connection, not even close.
And these are the guys caught in the middle of it all. 7 foreign-born players from some of the biggest footballing countries in the world. They were brought in to give Malaysia a quick boost, an immediate edge. Instead, they got suspended for a year, their careers completely tainted by a scandal they might not have even fully understood.
Oh, and you better believe there was a price to pay. A big one. FIFA slapped them with what you could almost call an integrity tax, a fine of over 400,000 US dollars. That's a pretty hefty bill for an organization that chose cheating over actually playing fair.
Okay, so to really get why this happened, you've got to understand this isn't a news story. Not really. The 2025 scandal, it's just the latest chapter in a long and pretty troubled history of corruption in Malaysian football.
Let's rewind the clock to 1994. This was the original sin of Malaysian football. A gigantic bribery and match-fixing scandal that just crippled the sport in the country. We're talking more than 100 players and coaches getting detained for fixing league matches for gambling rings.
And get this number is just, it's mind-blowing. At the peak of that 1994 crisis, the police estimated that 90%, that's 90, of all league games had been fixed. The entire league wasn't a competition anymore. It was just theater. The results were being bought and sold, not earned on the pitch.
So, when you put these two scandals side by side, you see something really important. The 1994 mess, that was all about greed. Players and betting syndicates fixing games for money. But in 2025, it was driven by pride. The institution itself was committing fraud just for a taste of glory. And that's a huge shift, because the corruption moved from being an outside problem to an inside job.
So that brings up the big question, right? Why does this keep happening? Well, the answer seems to lie in this deep-seated culture that time and again chooses the easy shortcut over the hard work.
And this really gets to the heart of the matter. It's this national paradox. On one hand, you have Malaysia Boleh, that powerful, optimistic, we-can-do-it spirit. But when the pressure to win becomes too much, it can twist into Malaysia Bohong, which means Malaysia Lies. And that's the cynical belief that the glorious end justifies any dishonest means to get there. And listen, this wasn't just a football problem. No, this went much deeper. For these kinds of fake papers to get through, you need help from state agencies. Bodies like the National Registration Department and the Home Ministry were implicated, which suggests a system where, maybe, the rules don't apply to everyone equally.
At the end of the day, it's a perfect storm, isn't it? You've got this immense pressure to get results, like right now, and you've got almost no real oversight, no checks and balances. What do you get? A system where cheating starts to look, well, normal. It's the shortcut that just seems easier than the long, hard road of actually developing your own talent.
Okay, so after all this, after hitting what feels like rock bottom, where do they go from here? Let's talk about the way forward and the huge choice that's now facing the nation and its favorite sport.
Look, the fallout from this is just massive. It's not just about losing a football game. We're talking about a national embarrassment, a total loss of public trust, and a seriously tarnished reputation on the world stage.
So what's the fix? Well, a few key things have been put on the table. First, you've got to make this stuff a serious crime with real consequences. Second, you have to get politics out of sports administration. Third, launch a massive, independent investigation, a royal commission of inquiry, to clean house in those state agencies. And finally, the big one. You have to actually invest in your own talent for the long haul. No more shortcuts.
And that really brings us back to the beginning. It all comes down to this one simple choice. Is Malaysian football finally going to commit to the hard, honest work of building something real, the true spirit of Boleh? Or is it just going to stay stuck in this cycle of Bohong, forever chasing empty victories built on lies? The future of the beautiful game in Malaysia, well, it really hangs in the balance.